Hello, today we're gonna paint some snowmen. So I'm starting off with my dagger brush, Art for Joy's Sake, dagger 1/4 inch. And I am working with my Art by Way E palette, some gold shimmers from Cosmic by Creations, and my Stabilo pencils, and my bleed proof white. So today we're gonna paint some snowmen, or at least one. And we'll give them a little something extra just to give them some extra goodies. So I'm going to go with 2 snowballs on this one. I'm going to start with this. I'm super pigmented, but I'm going to add water so it doesn't feel so pigmented when I'm done. So the big question about painting with white is, well, I can't ever see what I'm painting when I use white watercolor. Well, yeah, that's probably true. I often use white watercolor as a highlight in a piece rather than, as is in this case, what am I going to say? A highlight rather than the base is what I was trying to say. Okay, so the highlight rather than the base. So let me show you. This is a Chinese white Daniel Smith little tray. So now that I've done this one snowball, I might go ahead and add some water to this and then add the white in the spots where I want there to be highlight. And if you look at it, you can kind of see where I splashed that white in there. That is purely for highlight. It has really very little to do with making the snow out of it. It's more or less a starting point, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. I'm gonna do it over on this side. I'm gonna go ahead and curve this way, though I do prefer going this way. But I wanna change the direction of this little guy. I'm hoping to kind of have him facing this way. And there's something about a 2-headed snowman that just feels super cute to me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up making those edges look the way I want them to. And then I have to decide, do I wanna give him a top hat or do I wanna give him something else? So while I'm kind of working on these little edges to give them that like shadow, I'm thinking in my head what I'm gonna add. I think I'm gonna go with a black top hat with maybe a gold stripe in it. So what that means is I'm gonna have to make sure that I go in light on the black. So I'm gonna try and go in real light here. So just for those of you who are curious, one of the things that I do when I do black is I grab an indigo blue, I drop it in, I grab some orange, and I drop it in. And you should see that black forming. And so what I do now is I take that and I make sure it's pretty watery. I do want to make sure that this head is dry though. So bear with me while I use my heat gun. This is a Chandler heat gun. Because I didn't go heavy on the water for this, it dried pretty quickly. So now I'm gonna make my hat. I'm gonna kind of cut over the top of his little round head. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of thickness. And then I'm gonna take the side of my brush. I'm gonna bring down this little hat. Now, the warmth or coolness of your hat is dependent upon how much blue you put in it versus how much orange you put in it. This feels pretty warm to me. The color of the hat, you can kind of see some of the browns in here. If I don't like that, I can certainly go back and fix it or play with it to my liking. But for right now, I'm pretty good with it. I'm definitely gonna give him some big little buttons. I like big buttons on my snowmans. So I'm gonna go in here. This is still, oops. We're gonna go right there. Yeah, I like that black better. So I might come back up in here and just add it in. And this is called wet on wet technique. When you've already got a wet part of your watercolor piece that you add a different pigment to, just to give it some shadow and shade and some interest. What do they call this? Like a bowling hat or something, right? Is that what they call it? I don't even know. Okay. Now I'm going to go in for my eyeballs. My eyeballs are going to be wide set. I love wide set eyeballs. I just think they look so cute. So we're gonna do them here and over here. Actually might have him curl around the edge of his snow and maybe make this a little bit wider here because I want them about the same size. Like that. And then I'm gonna go in with some orange, any kind of orange, doesn't matter, you pick your poison. And then I'm gonna give him his little nose right in between the two eyes. Just like that. Could make it longer, but I think I'm gonna leave it that way for now. And I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna add some shadow to this side of him. Doesn't really matter which side you do. Just make sure that anything from that point on tends to be more shadowed on this side. So I'm gonna add a little shadow here and a little shadow here, and a shadow in here, and a shadow in here. Okay. So next we're going to add some tree branch hands. I'm going to use, it's a Van Dyke indigo brown that I have called Shadow Wood. I'm gonna start with his hand in here, and then the other hand's gonna pop out over on this side. You can make these branches as long or as simple as you like. You can point them in any direction you like. And maybe I'll have him carry something. Just adding a little bit more pigment to give shadow on the bottom. And when you make a mistake, you've got some options. You can go in with a dry brush and pick up whatever mistake you made. So what I do is I will go in, I'll make sure this is not wet. I'll use my fingers to pull off the water. And then I go in like this and lift up whatever was there that I accidentally put. You might have to do that a couple of times. That's totally normal. Okay. So kind of like that. While this is sitting, I am going to go in and use my Stabilo pencil to make these buttons look a little extra. I'm going to spruce up the eyeballs and make them a little darker in those spots. Kind of like that. And then up here, I'm going to make that a little bit more 3D-ish through here. Just outlining it in certain spots like that. I'm gonna go in and do more of that on him as well. But for right now, we're gonna do that. Now I'm gonna go in and try and do some gold on top here. This is not yet dry. I just put my finger on it. Hold on. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in with, we've got Firefly Gold or we have Pure Gold. I think I'm gonna go in with Firefly. It's got that orangey vibe. It kind of fits with his nose. You do need to add a significant, well, not a significant, I would say a few drops of water to get the pigment to move on these. This is Cosmic Creations pigments. They're lovely. You can see they sit right on top and make this glorious, shiny, pretty shimmer. I'm actually gonna outline that at some point like that. It looks kind of orangey, which is what I was going for, right? But now I'm like, oh, maybe I should have gone more yellow. That's okay. We'll lean into it. That. And then I have to decide if I'm gonna put, I might put a little bluebird right there on his branch. So I'm gonna use, this is called Fairy Blue. Oh, it's very dark. I don't mean for it to be that dark. I'm gonna put a little birdie right here. That little ball body. The little head. Like that. And then I can add his little feathers on the other side of the branch. And we're gonna let him dry. And then I'm going to go back in and add a little bit more of that black pigment to the hat. I want it to be darker. So you see I'm going in. Just be careful because you don't want it to get so wet that you mix it with your shimmer or whatever color you're using, right? I've been doing this long enough that I generally have a good idea as to what I need or where I can add. And if I don't, I know how to fix it, but it takes some time to figure that out for yourself. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. I like it. Okay. Oh, looks like he's got blueberries on his hand, doesn't he? Okay, I'm gonna go in, let's see. I need a very sharp, or you can use ink too, but I'm gonna make this a very sharp tip on my Stabilo to get some eyeballs on this guy. And then I'm probably gonna go over him in that orange color that's on the snowman. Let me dry quick. So this should be dry. Yep. And I'm going to give him two little beady eyes. And then we're going to put his little feeties on the branch. And then I'm going to try to get this little orange beak on him. I'm going to make it super teeny tiny like that. So do you see it? It's just basically a dot. You can see it. Okay, anyway, it's a teeny tiny dot. Because we're facing head on, it probably doesn't look as obvious. So that's actually kind of good. It means that I'm not going to overdo it there. I am going to add a bit of shadow to this nose. Like that. And then I think I'm almost done. I think the last thing I'm going to do is put some snow on the ground. So I'm going to go back to my black. I'm going to add a lot of water to it. And I'm going to kind of behind him, maybe make it a little more scoopy and drifty. Now you probably can't see it super well, but you see it enough, right? And it's going to dry even lighter than this. So you have some options. You can add more gray. You could add some blue. I'm going in with this here. It's a very light, kind of a cloudy blue. I might add it to him too, just to give some extra color to him. Going super watery though. I'm doing it on the brighter side, not on the darker side as much. Like that, and then I'm gonna go back here because this is where most of the shadows are. And now I'm just kind of blending it in here. Like that. And then the last bit is bleed proof white. And I need to go in with a very tiny tip. So I'm going to try this guy. This is my size 2 Princeton. I probably could go for a better one. Let's see. This one is super teeny tiny. This one is a King Art Spotter. Let's try it. Look how tiny this brush is. See if you can see it. It's super tiny. Okay. Let's try it. You don't need a super tiny brush, but it could help with highlights, which is what I'm doing right now. Make that one a little bit bigger. And look at how cute that is. Let's give the birdie some too. Like that. And you have a beautiful, let's make sure we get some shade on here. We have a beautiful little snowman in a bowling hat. Got my dogs in the background barking like crazy. And if I let that dry, he's gonna look pretty much the same. I think he looks great. Maybe add a little bit of outline in certain spots, like here and here. Like that. You can do it to the branches as well. I like a bit of highlight with line work because I feel like it just gives this pop to the piece that maybe didn't exist before. kind of like that. You can do it to the birdie as well. And then that's it, guys. I think we're finished. Thanks for following along with my little snowman and his little birdie friends. See you next time. My dogs say bye too.